Pardon the slight tardiness this morning. I hope I'm coming through on all my channels. Robert, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, I was held up by the Midjourney experience. I wasn't quite getting the thumbnail I wanted today, but I finally figured out how to make them wide. I finally figured out how to get the right aspect. My friend Alex McShane figured it out for me. All I was missing, so I kept getting these tiles. We were getting the tiles like squares, and I hated those black things, the margins that they created, because I wasn't getting the right 16:9 aspect. I know CK told me how to do it. He says you got to write 16:9 at the end of your prompt. And I tried every single way. I tried make a thumbnail, make a this, make a that, and it just wouldn't do. I tried 16:9, but it turned out you just need to do dash. That's all I didn't do. Dash. I could have looked it up, but what are you going to do? Yeah, it looks much better wide, Mudcast says. They're all going to look better now. I actually had a great time yesterday with it. I couldn't get the prompt to give me the banana split that I wanted. It didn't understand banana splits, so I had to put ice cream and banana, and I wasn't. Some days it just doesn't want to do the Bitcoin logo, right? It just won't do it. Like, it kept giving me C's, weird things that aren't letters. So all of that stuff. We'll get to that slarty blart fast. We'll get there. Slarty blart fast. I was just letting folks roll in because it takes a bit of time, especially when I'm 2 minutes late, as I was today. Johnny Rico, happy Friday, Johnny. Hope you're doing well. A smoggy good morning. Bitcoin Graffiti gives us the coffee, which we love, right? We love coffee. You can love anything. We don't care what you drink. Here we drink coffee because we like it. Good morning, Bitcoiners. B for victory, right? Now, no smoke in Maine, but it's been raining for a week. Has it really, Johnny? I didn't know that. I got out of, when I heard the weather was turning south because of the fires, I came to Montreal. It hasn't been that bad. We're close enough to the fires that everything's going down to the States. So sorry. Not sorry. You'll all be fine down there. I know it sucks. It does hurt my eyes. We get them every year, and not every year. We've had them many times in Montreal. I can't say it's an every year thing, but we've had it before. Now, I don't know about all this many fires starting at once. Who knows anything about that? People can definitely start them, right? That's for sure. Now, we're ready to, as our friend reminded us, that indeed, despite the smog, despite the thick coverage and layer of ash that's separating you from the sun, I can promise you, as someone who's above the smoke line, can tell you the sun came up this morning, everyone, and Bitcoin is running just fine, right? None of the Gensler stuff and the Binance stuff and the Coinbase stuff, none of it worked out for Bitcoin, right? We're good. We're doing fine. We got a sunrise. We got Bitcoin running. We're doing great. All that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what's new. There's a lot new today. But before we get to that, we've got to follow and see what Moscow time has for us today, because it's one of my best Moscow time days ever. So first up, let's just talk about our friend Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates. What do we call him again? Bill Pizza Gates. That's his new nickname. We went with the toll booth, right? Because his business model is just getting in the middle of transactions and being a third-party interloper all the time, right? I'm here for you. Right? It's the Microsoft business model. Buy it, sell it. So that's why I call them toll booth, because it's kind of like what toll booths do. So Bill Gates, right? Toll booth. So that worked. But with the pizza thing that happened on Pizza Day, it's just better that we call him Bill Pizza Gates from now on. But he's got a new idea. Everyone. He's going to make some money again. These Bill Gates-backed startup founders made beer from recycled shower water. Rest assured with the science. So you can drink recycled shower water as beer now. So that's good news, right? So, we got brands of beer leaving America, with Bud Light not doing so great, but it might be shower mildew beer. That could work. You never know. Maybe there's like more like ways to ferment it or something with the bottom of the stuff on your shower. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Now, we warned you that Florida, the state, had a warning from the Southern Poverty Law Center that gay people shouldn't go. But then we also found out that it was the gay days at Disney. So what are you supposed to do? There's a warning, don't go, but everyone's going. So what are you going to do? Well, this confuses things even more, because it turns out that this human rights campaign, here's a headline from today, that there's an LGBTQ state of emergency declared in the US by Human Rights Campaign. So we don't want that, right? We don't want states of emergency. No good. No good. Very bad. Now, we got a couple here on flying, right? So there's some flying news. First of all, if you've been in the air lately and you're wondering, and I did wonder this, right? So there's like not all the pilots, because of the needle, some had to quit, and then new pilots came, and people have been talking about, oh, we're flying our planes with inexperienced pilots, and what are we going to do? And I have noticed I've had a few weird landings, and I've sort of banked in an angle that I'm not used to. I've been flying a lot over COVID, and I can tell you it's not quite the same. I don't know how bad it is, and maybe it's just narrative bias. But here's another explanation for the turbulence and the wild rides in the sky that I've experienced. So turns out, right, climate crisis is leading to more turbulence during flight. So it has nothing to do with hiring a bunch of inexperienced pilots. It has nothing to do with all kinds of people quitting their jobs. It's climate change. Of course it is. Who didn't know that? Come on, guys, climate change. And anyway, this is from the Royal Air Force in England, right? So now that you do have those pilots gone, a lot of commercial pilots come from the military first, right? They get their training in the military, they fly fighter pilots, but now the Royal Air Force recruiters is telling people to stop selecting useless white male pilots. All right, so they're useless. We don't need them, right? So they're gone. Sucky pilots. So there you go. That's our Moscow time. And Slarty Blartfast says, I only drink toilet water. That's a different kind of beer, I think. All kinds of stuff in the news. I mean, just all kinds, right? It is a very, very busy news morning. And first, I want to talk about Tucker. So he was back on his Twitter show, Tucker on Twitter, not afraid of Fox News potentially suing him for breach of contract, potentially losing some money. The lighting was a little different this time. He came up with video number 2. I think it was around 40 million views or impressions before I came on. So last time, I think in the morning, I was at 55 when I went live. So it's 15 million less. We'll see how it continues to slide. Normal, right? It's normal, the first one to last one. But remember, he's only got to beat about 4 to 5 million nightly views for him to surpass his numbers at Fox. So yesterday, he did his episode number 2, and it was all on taboos, right? Talking about how taboos and disgust are important factors for organizing a society. And he discussed the rapid change of taboos in America. Now, I've used that frame many times here before when I talk about fear, discussed, sort of mixed in terms of what motivates people a lot, right? Things that are very persuasive are usually the things that you're disgusted by or you're afraid of. They're part of the sort of prime prioritized level of persuasion, because nothing beats fear and disgust and those kinds of things. They're really intertwined. So for those of you who are new, you can sort of verify this because it goes deep into our language. So you can look at any society and understand the fears of that society very easily based on swear words, for example. Swear words will divulge what you're disgusted by, what you're afraid of. And you can see it change between different countries very easily. So in Korea, this is a great example because they're very Confucian. The biggest swear word in Korea, if you want to get a fight going in Korea, you call somebody a puppy, right? Geseki, puppy, because not only are you young, so that's the Confucian hierarchy, you're subhuman. So you're a young subhuman. So it's very low on a hierarchical stance. The cute puppy is an imported English word. So if they do have cuteness in puppies, and they'll just say puppy, right? But the actual Korean word for a young dog is an insult. So you can track this throughout the world. Quebec and France are probably the most explicit examples of it because it's the same language, but it goes deep into their history. So in Quebec, all the swear words are based on religion, right? Religion looms large in the history of Quebec, even to present day. And if you want to start a fight in Quebec, you'll start saying chalice, tabernacle, wafer, right? So all the ceremonial pieces of Catholic culture. So hostie is like the wafer, right? That's what you say when you spill milk in Quebec. Oh, hostie, right? I spilled milk, wafer. If something's bothering you, you call it a tabernacle, that stupid tabernacle of traffic, right? I'm not kidding. These are the swear words in Quebec. And if you call someone one of these things, you're going to get if you say it in a heated moment, you might get punched in the face. Now, take France, for example. In France, it's all about being an adequate lover, right? So a swear word in France, you spill some milk, you'll say brothel prostitute, right? So you're paying for sex, right? So you're not good at it. You couldn't charm her, so you got to pay. So that's bad. England, all about Victorian body disgust. So fuck, shit, you get it. In America, you want to start a fight, it's like you're a loser, you're poor, right? That'll get it going, right? You're a loser, bang, ready to go. So in America, the fear, of course, is not winning. So what Tucker did his show on last night was on taboos. So basically saying America had a whole selection of taboos not long ago, and now those taboos are completely altered. And he put a lot of focus on the minor attracted individuals, like pedophilia has the new name, right? Minor attracted. And so he just went over describing this importance of having taboos, what they mean. And he asked his audience to cling to the taboos. Don't alter your taboos. Don't change your taboos. Your taboos are good for you, right? And disgust is good for you. Having things that you can be disgusted by sets an example of what you strive for. So it's one of these contrasts, opposite things. And indeed, it's a pretty good way of interpreting it, a pretty good way of understanding it. And it's something that I've used for a long time. And as I said, with the swear words, you can sort of see how it works out. But again, that's the whole point here of the people being motivated by what they're afraid of, by what disgusts them, and they're related in that way. Now, I bring all of this up. Because he also wanted to describe in the show how the White House is trying to construct a new disgust and taboo subject, which is the white supremacy thing, right? So white supremacy being the worst thing you can be, and Biden has said it several times, right? He said several times, the number one threat to America are the white supremacists. The number one threat are these things. And he mentioned that, for example, the FBI field office in DC, so they have a field office in DC, they've released 11 press releases in the last month. 10 of them have been about white supremacy. None of them, obviously, about anything else that's going on in the world. We're going to talk more about the FBI, Hunter, and all of that kind of stuff. But the point is, the whole thing has been geared towards what Biden has been talking about. Yet Tucker said, well, just describe the threat. Like, where are these people? What are they asking for? What injury are they going to heap upon America? Is there a plan to kick not white people out? What's going on, right? So he was saying, why aren't we even talking more about this? Why is it just a couple of throwaway lines from the president and a couple of FBI releases? He's saying that they're trying to reconstruct the things that you should be more afraid of and have as taboo, and replace the ones that are currently taboo, like minor attracted stuff, right? So, and he was describing just how much that's changed. Even having a conversation with young people about sexuality a few years ago was enough context for you to be called a pervert and all that stuff. And now, you go to these elementary schools and it's a big party. So he was talking about that: fears, motivation, taboo. Now, the reason I bring all of that up first, right? The reason I bring all of that up first is a really important one, which is the following. With what happened with Trump yesterday, the Banana Republic indictment of a candidate and former president by a current president against whom he should be running in a few weeks really does reek of America becoming a banana republic. And a lot of people talking about that yesterday. So this is the Documents Hoax, by the way. Well, first, let me just read what it's about, because again, Trump, he's got to be one of the greatest writers of our era. He has to be, right? Who could write this kind of stuff? So this is what he has to say about his new indictment, the second one, right? So, statement by Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States of America. The corrupt Biden administration has informed my attorneys that I have been indicted seemingly over the boxes hoax, even though Joe Biden has 1,850 boxes at the University of Delaware, additional boxes in Chinatown, D.C., and even more boxes at the University of Pennsylvania, and documents strewn all over his garage where he parks his Corvette, which is secured by only a garage door that is paper thin and open much of the time. So you could say run-on sentence or whatever, but it's amazing that someone can write like this. And indeed, I'm glad he's called it the boxes hoax, right? So he did a 4-minute video as well, and he said Russia, Russia, Russia hoax, and then the Mueller thing, and now he calls this one the boxes hoax. What did I say in the past few days? What have I been saying? That it was going to be the summer of the new hoax, because when you have the mainstream media over the summertime, the talented hosts have to take some rest, and then there's not as much news because no one's paying attention. So you really got to work hard to conjure up some hoaxes, right? And there's sort of a blueprint. The reason why this one makes the most sense is because it feeds to everyone's biases. Oh, Trump, he's got some relationship with a weird country, Iran, right? And Israel, this has to do with the Israel thing. So because it appeals to everyone's biases already, they're going to believe it, right? So it's a narrative bias approach. There's enough people out there who think Trump is just the worst, and this is just another example of how he's the worst. So it's effective. And the boxes hoax, like we said, was going to be the story of the summer, because it sort of writes itself. You can do a bunch of these what if, right? It's the what if summer. It's going to be a what if the document in the Biden, in the what if the documents that he was supposed to hold were really about him selling information to sell America out to get a little richer. And it's going to be all those kinds of things, right? So now everyone today talking about the Banana Republic part of it, right? So again, the beauty of it is that we know Biden has been accused of the exact same thing, leaving documents all about, just like Trump mentioned. And now that they're indicting Trump, it really makes it clear this is politically motivated. It really takes the bloom off of the U.S. Democratic rose, right? And lots of people coming up with that too, right? Saying Venezuelan strongman Hugo Chavez came to power and then indicted the leaders of his political opposition. So did Evo Morales in Bolivia and Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua. And now it's Joe Biden. So, not just those people talking about it. Here's even Rachel Maddow, right? You can see how the lies get kind of backwards and confused. So she goes on to MSNBC with Lawrence, whatever his name is, right? Another one of these fake news guys. And he goes so Maddow goes, you have to wonder if the DOJ would drop Trump's case if he never ran again, right? And then the fake news guys disagreed by accident, right? So he goes, but that's what Trump is accusing the DOJ of doing, right? He's like telling the world that the DOJ is putting all these charges on him so that he won't run, right? So Rachel Maddow forgot the lie for a second and kind of fell for it. Vivek Ramaswami. So a lot of people saying I stand with Trump. There's a lot of that, right? You've been seeing a lot of that. Vivek Ramaswami saying we can't have two tiers of justice, one for Trump, another for Biden, one for Assange, another for Manning, one for BLM Antifa, another for peaceful protesters of January 6th. Oh yeah, by the way, the of those 11 press releases I was just mentioning about the FBI, white supremacists, and January 6th. I forgot to mention the January 6th. It wasn't just white supremacists. The 11 press releases, 10 of the 11 from the FBI that Tucker was mentioning on his show, it wasn't just white supremacy. It was the January 6th thing, which is kind of the same thing. But pardon me, I misspoke when I was reminded by Vivek's tweet here about January 6th. And Vivek goes on to say, I never thought we'd see the day when the US president deputizes the DOJ to arrest his lead rival in the middle of an election. Obama shamefully tried to deputize the FBI to infiltrate Trump's 2016 campaign, but they're leaving nothing to chance this time around. The federal police state is outright arresting Trump. Now he goes on and describes we the people, blah, blah, blah. You can get what he says. A lot of sentimentality there. One interesting take I thought was Cernovich saying this is the JFK moment, right? They've basically assassinated him for all the stuff that he's done, or trying to anyway. So I'm going to, the JFK thing is going to be relevant in a few minutes when we get there. Now the other part that makes it really funny is that yesterday we found out, remember what we said? We're going to have a race between the hot media, right? So that's the brain on fire, dopamine dealing drug dealers of the mainstream media, selling you the boxes hoax story all summer with what if context. What if Spider-Man was bitten by an even bigger spider and had more powers? What if Spider-Man was a girl and got bitten by a spider, right? The what if comic genre, the multiverse comic genre, right? It's all multiverse now. So it's gonna be a multiverse summer of fake news from the hot media telling you, what if Trump actually got peed on by the Russian prostitutes? And what if? So it's gonna be that versus the cold media of people calculating, talking, using all of these internet forms, using Twitter, using Nostr, using these video formats, using citizen journalism, using independent research to talk about the Burisma Biden story over the summer. So it's a race between the hot and cold media and between two stories of corruption. Is it going to be the boxes hoax, or is it going to be the bribery hoax, which it turns out yesterday we got a lot of information on it. Now, we still don't know the details of this, of everything in this document. People say they saw it. Marjorie Taylor Greene said, I saw the document. We know for sure Biden took $5 million from Burisma, blah, 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 for influence peddling while he was vice president. Maybe, right? I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no. And I think they're going to find something there. I want to believe it, right? There's a lot of narrative bias around this one. So you've always got to be careful of narrative bias, right? You know how you know you're being misled if it really gets you excited, right? If you want it, right? It's on both sides. That's how it works. If you want it, probably being spun. But in this case, who knows, right? Who knows? It does look really bad, and this is what people are saying about it, right? And in the context of camouflaging what's actually going on by using the Trump indictment as a diversion for no one talking about Burisma, but this is what people are saying. This is Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad author, a Bitcoiner who we love. If Biden's DOJ can do this to a former US president, what can they do to you or me? What happened to Hunter Biden's laptop? Isn't that fascism? Good news. Biden crime family turning Trump into national hero. Americans will choose freedom, not fascism. That wasn't a good one on the FBI document one, but there's more people talking about it. You get Jamie Waters had a show on the $10 million bribes. Breitbart has a headline today. FBI doc alleges business person from Ukraine sent substantial bribe to VP Biden. Cernovich saying they timed the Trump indictment the day proof that the Burisma scandal was true, and it broke. This is the JFK assassination all over again. They are killing Trump by other means. I didn't understand I had the quote there. Sorry about that. Donald Trump Jr. saying, don't kid yourself. If Biden's corrupt DOJ is allowed to succeed in their attempt to interfere in the election, the Dems will run this playbook over and over and over again, every time against every other Republican. Sticks, Hex, and Hammer brings up the same. He says, notice that the bombshell story of Joe Biden receiving 5 million smackaroos from Burisma is barely registering in the news. LOL. Greg Price says, we learned Joe Biden took a $5 million bribe from Burisma, which his son sat on the board of, and on the same day his DOJ indicts the former president and his chief rival for 2024 for mishandling classified documents, which Biden kept in his office, garage, and other places. The Biden DOJ targeted school board parents as terrorists, launched FBI raids on peaceful protesters at abortion clinics, and goes after his political rivals as his attorney general commits perjury and son commits crimes like people breathe air. So it goes on like this. You get a lot of people talking about it. Byron Donalds, who is great, says the following: on the day members of Congress learned from an FBI document linking then VP Joe Biden to receiving $5 million from Burisma in a pay-for-play scheme, Biden's DOJ announces another phony indictment of the leading candidate for the GOP presidential nomination, Biden's likely opponent and the former POTUS. This mob-like justice system is turning Lady Justice on its head and is the most significant threat to our democracy. Stand with President Trump. So a lot of people saying stand with Trump today. It's kind of a theme out there, right? And lots of people talking about this document. So Colin Rugg has some details on the document, just so you know where it's coming from, because I am talking about it. And I again, don't know exactly, right? It smells real bad, but you always got to be careful. You don't want to waste time on this stuff, right? But it's fun, so it's not really wasting time. More details relating to the FBI document that allegedly claims Joe Biden accepted a $5 million bribe have been released. A Burisma executive told the FBI source that Burisma had to pay the Bidens because Viktor Shokin, a Ukrainian prosecutor, was investigating Burisma. Shokin was the prosecutor that Biden publicly bragged about getting fired. The $5 million payment was a retainer, according to the source. The Burisma executive allegedly paid the Bidens through so many different bank accounts that it would take investigators 10 years to unravel. The FBI source is a regular, reliable source and has been paid $200,000 by the Bureau. So all of this, now remember, this is where I'm leading up to with this. Now remember, do you remember what they impeached Trump for the first time, right? Don't you love that he was impeached twice too? It's the best. It's like the best thing he did in his presidency, impeached twice, right? So he was impeached in the lead up to COVID about this, about asking questions about this exact thing, right? So now we're finding out, maybe true, but he had legitimate reasons to ask questions at the time, of course. And all of this to me ends up creating the following scenario. Because it has become so blatantly and obviously a banana republic, because it is so clear that we're seeing America corrupted, we're seeing America abused, right? And we're seeing the systems completely manipulated for the benefit of a few. One of the interesting things that happens, if you bring it back to what Tucker was saying about fear and taboos, one of the great fears and taboos that Americans had were being not patriotic, not believing in America as a shining light on a hill. And now I do believe in American exceptionalism, right? I do. Like, we're not here to shit on Americans and America. Like, the history is unprecedented and amazing and beautiful, and the whole world benefits from everything that's happened in this place, including the stuff that's happening now. But this idea that America is becoming a laughingstock and that Americans themselves are no longer blinded by fear of their government, in a sense. Like, do you know what this is going to do for people who just don't want to pay taxes anymore? Like, how many, I bet you the percentage of Americans who are just done with taxes is going up every day because of this kind of behavior. And you're going to see more and more Americans, and it's what we've been talking, that's why we call this show The Breakup. The whole point of this show being called The Breakup is so that Americans understand that they're in a toxic relationship with institutions, with money. We all love money, right? Everybody loves money here. It's hard, you're hardwired to love it. There's nothing you can do about it. You love it, right? Now, you can be in a bad relationship with something you love. And if you are in a bad relationship with someone you love, someone you love, you got to change it. You got to break up. You got to do something different. You got to find a way to make your life better. And that's exactly why we talk about Bitcoin and contrast it with dollars. And I'm not here telling you, oh, Bitcoin's 21 million and it's censorship resistant every day. What I'm telling you is it's an alternative to this system that's broken and is not salvageable and is not going to get fixed. And that's why you got to dump and break up with this old system, right? So I'm not trying to tell you what's attractive about Bitcoin. I'm trying to tell you what's disgusting about the old system. And the disgust, fear, taboo aspect of this is indeed, according to Tucker Carlson, he's right. It's changing very quickly, but in good ways too. It's not just changing in ways that has parents celebrating and clapping while their kids watch strippers at their school, right? That's not the only way taboos are changing. The other way the taboos are changing is that people like us don't buy any of this bullshit anymore. Do you think I would be afraid if the SEC took action against me? No, I don't give a shit anymore. I became a terrorist a year and a half ago, and it's a joke now. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Like, I brag about being a Canadian terrorist. It's like one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. I'm happy, right? Now, I shouldn't be, I guess, right? But it's hilarious. Like, it's a punchline to me. I tell people, what about Canada? Well, I'm a terrorist up there. It's a shithole. What are you going to do, right? I got to go other places. I'm Bin Laden in Canada. So everyone in America who was blinded by patriotism from money, for example, it's one of the worst ways Americans were blinded. I've mentioned many, many times that a big breakthrough for me in understanding how hyper-Bitcoinization had to work was going to China in the early days of Bitcoin and listening to Chinese people talk about currency manipulation and their own country. These are patriotic Chinese people who love the Communist Party, even saying, well, we're used to them screwing us. So guess what? We just Forex trade and hedge and do all these kinds of things. Now, they have other reasons to be patriotic about their country. They don't need money tied up in it. We got money tied up in our patriotism, and it was a major problem. It's a major problem, right? Now, you can still love the dollar. I don't think the dollar is going to die. I think the dollar is going to become purely political money, what people intended it to be, and it will be food stamps, and it will help feed Americans, and it will help the Americans who are not capable of traversing this turning, not capable of embracing hyper-Bitcoinization. All of these people whose brains are just too broken by the psyops that have been delivered at steady supplies for years now. All of these people, they'll probably use what's left of the dollar and however it's reconstituted. But many Americans now understand that the dollar is disgusting. It's causing all of this stuff. And more people are going to break up with it. More and more folks, are going to have an appetite for something new. And that's where we're at. And that's what makes a lot of this stuff good news, right? So it doesn't look like good news. It all looks like bad news. But think about what this has done to even people in the middle that were like, I don't know about Trump. I don't know about this. I don't know about that. But here's what it does for me that I think is just the best thing, right? So Trump, he's got this thing, he's got to fight the courts, but it's one of the reasons why. Now, remember what Trump did to, and go back to the early Trump days. People like me who were frustrated with conservative politics, right? Who were sick of being manipulated by larger blocks of people, let's say, right? So manipulated is the wrong word. Sick of having to follow the larger blocks within the conservative political big tent because the more libertarian small government side of it was a little small compared to the other ones, right? So folks like me, when we first saw Trump, said, wow, he can break the mold and destroy that albatross of old-fashioned conservatives that we have around us. And he had an interesting ability of, it's sort of the Nixon goes to China thing, right? The Nixon goes to China. Only the most anti-communist person could be trusted to go to China and deal with China. And in a lot of ways, Trump, with who he was able to take the crazy part of conservative politics and absorb all of their attention, all of their confidence, let's say, and he was able to absorb it and make them feel like they were heard, like they were being managed, and like they were going to be influential in the future government. But he knew how to say no to them, right? He knew how to say no. you're only getting this much. You're not going to get more than that. Like his thing on abortion, for example, right? Trump on abortion has always been pretty clever. Let the states do it, right? I don't even want to be making the decision. I want to get out of it, right? It's let all the states decide. So Trump was always capable of taking some of the extreme people from that party and mollifying them in certain ways. And here's why it gets interesting for RFK with everything that's going on right now. RFK can do the same with the crazy liberals. He can sort of absorb a lot of their stuff just because he is a Democrat, right? He's a Democrat. And so as people see these two sort of geriatric people fighting and using lawfare and the courts, and I'm not trying to say Trump isn't a victim here. He absolutely is, right? But again, always focusing on Trump is also a problem for conservatives at this point, right? Trump's own personal fights become an issue. Trump could have done a lot of stuff in his time and didn't, right? So I'm still not, as much as I love Trump, love him, love Trump, right? Always have always been happy to say I love him openly. Did it through his entire presidency, never hid the fact that I loved him. That was still when people, how can anyone love him? I love him. He's the funniest guy I know, right? Like whenever he talks, I want to listen. But I think the same effect that he had can be mimicked by or copied by RFK. And I think this Banana Republic story sort of splits open the field and opens the path to victory for RFK for those reasons, right? So if you go back to this, the taboo and disgust and fear, right? There's a portion of the population that will never get over it when it comes to Trump, right? But now that the disgust is there for Biden, even amongst liberals, just like there was disgust for the George Bushes amongst conservatives back, but it was a minority, right? It was a minority. Now you're going to get that minority, and I would have been part of that minority, right? Now that you're going to get a minority within the Democrats that are disgusted by Biden and that they actually have someone who can help them bridge that, grow that, change the whole situation. I think that RFK is sitting in a very similar position with the Democrats as Trump was sitting with the Republicans 6 years ago or 7 years ago or whatever it was. And so, or 8 years ago now, 2015, geez. So that whole aspect really means, and I think all this Banana Republic stuff, all the stuff you're seeing in the past couple of days about the Banana Republic absolutely opens the doors to RFK. And I now think, from what I see today, looking at all the candidates, I think he has the best chance. I really do. I really think he has the best chance now because he's only got to beat Biden. Now, I understand a lot of people are going to celebrate Donald Trump over the next few days and say, wow, Trump is this and that and da-da-da-da, and we've all got to stand by him and we've got to protect him from all of this stuff. But again, look what else we've got going on in America. And I think things are going to change quickly about the Trump love fest and the Woodstock thing around saving our democracy for Trump, right? All that Woodstock Trump January 6th stuff. The reason it's going to change is because a court yesterday in the UK, right? A court yesterday in the UK has said that Julian Assange, his appeal to not be extradited was rejected. So it looks like he's going to be sent to America for what? Trial, which is what we want. Honestly, it sounds bad. It sounds bad, right? He's getting extradited to America, all this stuff, right? But here's what it will do. It will embarrass Trump because guess what? This is the unforgivable thing Trump didn't do while he was president. He had a chance to do this. And this would have been his number one proxy advocate for the deep state and for what they did to Trump. And he didn't take it. Now, I understand what they did to JFK. I understand they can pop a cap in his daughter, in anyone. This is dangerous business, right? Never forget that. And do have sympathy for Trump. Whatever he was up against at that time was probably bad, right? I don't think I would have done differently than Trump necessarily. I can't promise that. I'm not even going to say I could, right? But doesn't matter. It happened and there are effects. And now the best case scenario for all of us, I believe, is not actually in the end a pardon for Assange. That's not the best case scenario, simply because it helps Trump. It would have helped Trump with having a surrogate, having someone fight for his talking points and all that kind of stuff. But a trial of Assange, a public trial of Assange in America, which it sounds like we might get, is going to create attention. It's going to create dialogue. And here's what Glenn Greenwald says. I don't think Biden wants the spectacle of Assange being extradited to the US, with pro-Assange protests and Biden being the first ever US president to prosecute someone under the 1917 Espionage Act for publishing. The goal was to destroy Assange physically and mentally. So what I think you're going to see is Assange, if indeed he is extradited, you're going to see even more backlash against Trump and Biden. Not as much against Trump, but the people who knew what was going on at the time are going to see things a little differently. So I think this clears the path for RFK almost like nothing else has. And indeed, it also clears the path for Bitcoin, because we're going to see the money laundering thing fall apart, right? All this money laundering regime in the world, yet guess what? They've been doing this whole time. Remember, that is Assange's whole story, that these wars are used to launder money, right? So now you're going to get a public trial about the guy who knows how the money is being moved around the world with war and how it's used to launder to people like Joe Biden and Burisma. And that story on front page news with and the collection of excitement around it, front page news, forget about it. It'll be on every single Twitter feed. It will be on all social media. It'll be all anyone's talking about. And if that happens, the contrast to that is the tonic. You're going to go back to LBJ. You're going to go back to the CIA. You're going to go right back to the narrative strains that lead us to the Kennedys, that lead us to when it was that the intelligence agencies took control of America. And you're going to get narrative closure on everything that went wrong in America in the last 60 years. And that's what a Assange trial offers. And that, I think will take out Biden completely and offer RFK the attention he needs to become a household name with every American, in the same way that Trump managed to get to become a household name with everyone in 20. He was already famous, of course. But Kennedy's got a brand too, right? Kennedy is as famous a name as anyone in America. So there you go, guys. It's coming quick. And if it doesn't, I mean, just look at these, within the context, all of this. The other argument for Bitcoin, I guess, is, you get the RFK standing out in politics. You're going to get the money laundering story front and center, but you're also going to get the mismanagement of the economy story bigger than ever, right? You're going to see all of these stories about commercial real estate. Now, we found out yesterday how many loans have been taken for this backstopping of deposits at the banks. We're in the billions now already. I thought I had this one here. So there you go. There you go. It's things changing quick. Let me get to some of these comments. Let's see where we're at. So good thing I took out the Facebook thing, right? P-Man Van, Chris de Charles. Trudeau is a swear word. Yeah, why not? Everyone laughing at the Quebec swear words. No, c'était de Chris de tabarnak. And then Chris is like Christ, right? De Chris de tabarnak. It's Christ of tabernacle. So he's missing a T in the way he spelt it, but you wouldn't pronounce it necessarily. Biden is such a Justin Trudeau. That would be a pretty good one. Yeah, that would be a pretty good one. Meme pool is clearing up too. Yeah. A banana republic, if you can keep it. That's a good one. I have a feeling this will backfire. Yeah, it's going to backfire. This is a major backfire. Boomer the Broken Ruler. Yes, I did talk about Tucker Carlson's show. I did not talk about, one thing he brought up was the, and this is an actual important thing to mention in terms of what's going on. So the Wall Street Journal did have a whole piece 2 days ago. So just talking about focus, media, attention. Remember that's what Tucker said his show was going to focus on, the stories that the mainstream media will ignore. And he couldn't have come up with a better one for number 2. Like I talked about all this stuff as far as taboo and keep your taboos and how much the taboos in America have shifted so quickly. Well, here's one, right? So this is from the Wall Street Journal, the largest circulating newspaper in America, with a big investigation with the Stanford Internet Observatory, Wall Street Journal. So this is a real thing. This wasn't just like some journalist saying, oh, I found out some stuff on Instagram. They found out on Instagram that it connects vast pedophile network, blatant hashtags, all kinds of these things. And, I didn't read the report, but it looks pretty bad. And that's what Tucker was mentioning, that there was literally zero mention of it, to show just how far taboo has changed in America. Because had this come out 20 years ago, for example, heads would roll. I mean, they would shut Instagram down if this kind of thing happened. And now the CEO hasn't even had to answer. He just has a pinned tweet on his thing talking about personalization of algorithmic search results, which is kind of what the pedos are hoping for, right? So there you go. Nothing, absolutely. And Instagram being the number one sharing tool for this market. Even Elon Musk saying extremely concerning about that Wall Street Journal article. So that's just something I wanted to add to it. But really, really bad. No good. And another reason why people are going to abandon this stuff, right? What about... I don't know that one. Damn, by that logic means the news is fake. Yeah, that one's totally fake, man. What are they covering up? I mean, they've been, I wrote a title that I'm very proud of. The last time the UFO story was in the news, which was when the banking crisis started and the bank runs were going on. And I called that title, "You See UFOs Because the US Owes." And yeah, it's just a version. There's no aliens, guys. It's not happening. And even the guy who was doing the interview, did you see him? He was speaking in affirmations while he was shaking his head. Very bad body language. And I mean, everyone's saying, why do they keep landing in America? Why don't they ever crash in Africa, right? Why is it always in LA? Why is it always in Las Vegas, right? So yeah, there's no aliens, guys. And I'm personally certain there are no aliens, simply because I'm a Christian and I believe in the simulation. And in the simulation, you actually can't have aliens. You can have things that lived on other planets in history in the past, but probably not now. So there you go. The green glasses are breaking, indeed. When your parents call you a terrorist, you made it. That's what I think. Johnny Rico, my wages are being garnished. An entire day of my check goes to the state. It sucks. I need a new non-taxable income. Yeah, that's, I tell everyone that's some of the more important things you can be doing is finding ways to do that cleverly. But again, here's the thing about fear and taboo. People are going to be less afraid of these people, right? Way more scofflaw is coming because these people don't cultivate any respect. They don't cultivate it, right? And if you don't cultivate it, and if you don't really cultivate fear anymore, like who's going to be afraid of these people? They're going to show their limp dick abilities against Trump. Trump's not going to go to jail for this stuff. It's ridiculous, right? And even if he does, like, it's better, right? Like, more people will think they're a joke. So there you go. Nixon indeed was an accelerationist. We love Nixon. I knew Watergate was fake news my whole life. I knew that. Johnny Rocco, before your wages even get to the top line of your pay stub, the employer has to pay taxes on it. After you get paid, you tell, yeah, it's disgusting. I disapprove. Banana Republic. Kamala Harris will be the next president, I bet. Well, he won't make it, so you're probably right. I don't think she'll get elected, though. She is. I thought she would have won. I thought she could have beat him in 2020, but I didn't realize just how rock bottom stupid she is. I didn't know. I thought I'd seen her like prosecuting in the Senate, right? Because she was a lawyer. She's good in that conditions. She is the worst public speaker I've ever seen in my life. She's so bad, and she's an alcoholic. I think, so she's pretty useless. Nolan, did you see the Liberal MP in Canada that called for Assange's release? Joel Lightbound. No, I didn't, but I will check that out. Aliens will save Assange. Can't wait to see what Gensler's cooking up for the ETH case. Yeah. Again, I'm for ETH to be a bigger scam. I wanted to take down all of Wall Street, so I hope they don't do anything to ETH. Davos dorks, yeah. Joe by then. How can anyone let Assange be extradited while Epstein case is still going on there? Or McAfee killed in Spanish jail, by the way. Spanish were hired by. Still, I know it's hard for Assange. He's been through a lot. But for our benefit, I hope he comes and is extradited to America and has a public trial. Because it will be excellent, porn. It's a type of porn, I guess, but it works. I hate thinking that way, but he'll be one of the martyrs, just like Trump. And I don't like any of this stuff, but that's what it's looking like is going to happen. A truly banana republic. Would I have the DOJ lay some charges? I think they're gonna. He's been arrested a few times, if you guys didn't know that. Heroin, pot, environment stuff. He spent some time in jail. AI is the aliens. It is. A true banana republic would have the president refusing to debate. But he's not. Spermwell. He's not going to debate. He can't. It's not going to happen. Biden has degraded so much. They were able to get him to debate 4 years ago. It can't happen again. He's no good. His brain just isn't there. Norway's Energy State Secretary Amund Vik says deep sea mining would help Europe in its green transition. These are not serious people. They're not. Which is what we love. Thanks, Dex. Happy Friday indeed. Indeed. They will most likely let him rot in jail before he does. Yeah, that's what I think, P-Man. Unfortunately, that's what I think. But the public trial will be excellent for everyone. All right, team, that's all I got for today. By the way, no show tomorrow. I'm gone for the weekend. No show tomorrow. I'm gone for the weekend. I'll see you on Monday. And what else? Yeah, anyway, I'm going with some friends to a cottage. There's just no internet there. So no Saturday show this weekend. I will see you all Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. I hope the air clears wherever you are.